You're listening to She's the Business podcast. What to do before you pivot your business? Well, pivoting is something that we have talked a lot about over the last few years because the whole COVID situation caused a lot of people to be in a situation where they needed to pivot or thought they needed to pivot, or maybe even came to a self-awareness or realization that their business wasn't what they wanted it to be, which led them to want to pivot. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration. Today, I thought I would bring you an episode about what to think about before you go and jump into a new boat and start sailing off in a new direction. So what are the things that you need to think about before you pivot your business? And ideally, you're doing this early on in the decision making. So if you're starting to have an inkling that you're like, maybe I'm not where I want to be right now, this isn't really how I want it to work out, should I pivot? You may be starting to have those thoughts going on in the back of your mind. This is the ideal time to listen to this episode and have a think about what I'm about to share with you before you make any decisions. So I've essentially got three main questions that I'd like you to ask yourself. The first one is, why are you feeling this need to pivot? What is actually driving it? So let's deep dive for a moment into what's causing you to have those thoughts. Is it that you've got an offer, a program, a service that you're having trouble selling, and you're thinking, well, people aren't buying it, therefore I'm in the wrong space, I'm offering the wrong thing, I need to do something else? Is it that you're seeing an opportunity maybe elsewhere that you think might be better for you, or maybe it might be someone else is doing really well on that and you feel drawn to it? Is it that you're just feeling like you're in a place where things aren't as successful as you wanted it to be, and you're feeling the need to pivot to find better success? So it might not be a full pivot. Maybe you're like, I need to do this differently. You might be in one of these 3 places. I think they're the 3 main ones that generally lead you to wanting to pivot. The other one might be simply that it's more of like a brand refresh, which can also seem like a bit of a pivot. You might be taking your business in a new direction or feeling like you're ready for that next level. Maybe you're incorporating different type of service than what you were doing before. These are the places that you're at. So what is really driving it? Is it a feeling? Is it a feeling about some results right now? Or is it based on something else? Now, most of these that we've talked about, feelings that we're having. And so the very next question that I'd like you to write down, and if you've got a pen and paper, like definitely journal a bit about, well, why? Why do I want to pivot? What is happening right now that I want to change? What is it that maybe I've been avoiding doing that I'd like to change? And what is it that I really want? What do I really want? I like that question. Let's get present to it for a moment. What do you really want? So the next question, once we've got that down, is to look at your current situation. And I want you to look at your numbers. What is the data actually telling you about what is happening right now? Because most of the time when we need to pivot, we're thinking that what we've got is going nowhere. We're done with it. It's not working. It's not what we're wanting to happen. Or it's not reaching our targets, our goals, the revenue, the profit that we want to be making. We're not getting there. That's usually what drives that initial thought, it's time to pivot. So let's put that aside for a moment, actually look at the numbers. Well, what are they telling us? What is actually happening in your business? And what I mean by that, so I'm going to give you a couple of examples because I think that it always helps to imagine an example rather than to talk about the theory in this. I had a launch that I thought had absolutely tanked because it didn't hit my goals. didn't hit the revenue that I wanted. I thought that it didn't convert very well. But then we look at the numbers. So, I guess that had driven me to this point of thinking, well, this isn't working. I need to change everything. I need to do something different. I was going to not launch that program again. I thought it was a bit of a failure. I was back to square one. But looking at the numbers, it actually told me a totally different story. The numbers told me that the conversion had actually been really good. It was just that I didn't have the numbers in the top to come out the bottom. So yes, I didn't hit the goal that I wanted. I didn't hit the revenue target, but I hadn't put in the volume at the top that I needed in order to hit that target. Now, this might sound really obvious and super simple, but it's amazing how much we can get bogged down in the reality of what we're looking at today. The fact of, how many people signed up, or how often you're getting a client inquiry and how often you're getting a sale happening. You're looking at that current state and forgetting to look at, well, what are the numbers happening? If you're getting one inquiry and that converting into a sale, you've got a really great conversion rate. The problem isn't the fact that you're not making sales. The fact is you are making sales. You're just not getting enough people into your business. You're not getting enough inquiries. So it becomes a totally different problem that we're looking at there. Often because we're focused on the outcome, we're focused on, what the end result is that we've experienced, we think that the problem is this isn't working, I'm in the wrong place, I'm selling something people don't want. Whereas in actual fact, if we can look at the numbers, you might find, well, yes, there are people in there. The real problem is that I'm not getting enough people, not getting enough people to inquire. None of us should be expecting a 100% conversion rate. That would just be crazy stations. So what is your ideal or target conversion rate? And these vary a lot. So if we're looking at one-to-one sales, if you're doing a one-to-one service offering, you're having some form of sales conversation with somebody and then pitching them a service, getting them to take that next step, you can probably expect around a 20-25% conversion rate, which may fluctuate a little bit depending on what that is. But you would expect to convert probably 1 in 4 would be really reasonable. If you're doing more than that, fantastic. If you're doing less, it's still okay. Where I'd start to worry is if it's down to the 5% mark, under 10%, I'd be worrying. And it probably depends on your offer and what that is. But I would want to be converting 1 out of 4 at least. Think 1 out of 4 today, and the other 3 might buy in the future. That just may not be a yes right now. If you're up around the 50%, fantastic. That's really good. If you're at 100%, there's probably something going on there. You're doing a really good job at converting them, but maybe there's a reason for that. Could you look at your pricing? You may be well undercharging for that, and it's not a bad thing that not everybody's saying yes to your offer. If they're all saying instant yes, then you've either got an absolutely magical offer, or you're maybe leaving something on the table there. So have a think about that. Now, we were talking about what the data is telling us. Yes. And so have we got the people in that we need in order to get the conversion? Now, if you've got a digital product, say it's an online program or a course, and you're selling it live, then want to be seeing probably around a 5% conversion rate would be great. 3% is okay. If it's under that, then you want to be looking at that. Your offer definitely got some work to do there. You've got some opportunity that you could leverage. If what you're selling is an online product that you're not doing any form of, sales to, maybe a sales page that people get to, but there's no sort of live interaction with you. There's no formal sales pitch. It's just the sales page and messaging, and they're signing up to it. Maybe it's even off ads. Then you'd be expecting a 1 to 2% conversion, which would be standard. So what was your expectation in terms of your conversion, and what are the numbers actually telling you? And then if you're not getting enough out the bottom, if you're not getting the revenue and profit that you want, then it is about getting more in the top. Now, you might look at this and think, well, I could do that, but then it's going to turn into the business that I don't want. Okay, great. Well, that then gives you the clues, because you can either raise your prices so that you're making more from those sales that you're making. So change that. Or yes, maybe it is then a good idea to look at how you might pivot your business into offering some different type of service that is more aligned to what you want in your business and your life. Now, you might be sitting here thinking, well, I don't have any data because I haven't made any sales yet. Well, if that's you, that's okay. Let's look at the other data. What is it telling you with your audience? What are you actually doing to build your audience? How are people connecting and engaging with you? Look at what's actually happening, people connecting with your content. Now, obviously, if you're not doing anything to put your business out there, then it's going to be really hard to have any data to compare. So therefore, what is the reason why you're thinking about a pivot? If you've got no basis for making that decision on, is it purely just your instinct, your intuition? I'm not one to say don't follow your intuition, because I am someone very much aligned with, being intuitive. However, what I can see happening sometimes is we can change our minds about what we want and be continually chasing something else without ever really giving anything a good go. And I'd like you to sit and think with that for a moment. Well, if you felt like this was the thing that your intuition was telling you, and what you feel is your purpose, not what somebody else is saying to you should do, not what someone else out there is doing that you're like, well, that looks good, I could do what they're doing. Really ask yourself, what is it that you want to be doing? What is your purpose? What is your passion? That might sound like it's cliched and buzzwords, but honestly, if you're in a business and you're not passionate about it and it's not your purpose, then it's probably got a short lifespan, because the amount of energy required for you to put into it is going to feel really heavy really soon when it's not something that you love. That's why we do say it should be something you're really passionate about, something that you love, something that you want to spend your time thinking about, spend that precious brain energy thinking about something that you actually really enjoy. And that enjoyment factor comes out in what you say. It comes out in when you're speaking, in your content, in so many ways, and everybody can feel it. We love the high energy. We love it when somebody's really into what it is that they're teaching or what they're talking about. If you've got a service offering, you draw people to you because they want to work with you. You clearly know and love your stuff, and it's not just a transaction. So yeah, there we are. So if you've got the sales, then you've got numbers there in the conversion data. If you don't have the sales, you've got numbers there in your audience and what's happening. Are people engaging with stuff? Now, the solution there, like with the conversions, it may not be that it's rubbish. It may not be that you're in the wrong place. It could just be your messaging. And usually when you're having trouble building an audience, it's actually your phase one of your marketing strategy, which is, having a defined niche. If you're not clear on what that is, then how can anybody else be clear? How can they figure out that you're relevant to them? How can they figure out that this is something that they want to be engaged with? People don't engage with generic stuff. They don't engage with the lukewarm latte that's out there for everybody. They want something that's really speaking to them, that they feel connected to, because we're surrounded by so much noise, so much information, that when it's not directly relevant, you'll find that we switch off straight away. We're like, oh, off with that. We're on to the next thing. These days, people are very time poor, but we've also got an abundance of time to spend on things that we find really relevant and valuable to us. And the more relevant it is to us, the more valuable, which means that we want to get specific. We want to get super specific in who you're speaking to and really talk to them on the level that they're at right now. So what is the data telling you? That was my question number 2. Obviously, each of these questions have got a number of questions underneath them that I'm sharing. So I'm broken it down into sort of 3 main ones. But once you've figured that out, the data might tell you the different story, and you can really understand what's driving that initial need to pivot. Is it really about, was it because you thought it wasn't successful, but then the data's telling you, hey, this is actually worthwhile. It's just that you haven't got this other bit sorted, and it changes the game. So once you know that, do you still want to pivot because you don't like it at all? Or are you more motivated to just put the effort into either getting more people in or fixing your messaging or niching down so that your audience connects with you. We don't have to jump ship every time something's not working. It's more about finding the real issue, the real barrier that you're actually facing, because it's much, much smaller than shifting your entire business. If you've done that and you've actually still 100% like, this data is telling me it's time to pivot, my intuition is telling me it's time to pivot, I am 100% committed to it, fantastic. It may be the best thing that you've ever done, especially when you're making this as a considered decision. So the next question I have for you, this is question number 3, is how can you leverage your equity that you've built up in your current business? How can you bring some of that equity and value with you? How can you bring it along? So usually when you are pivoting, most people are changing direction a bit, but usually if we're a service provider, you're a professional in a certain area, you're probably staying within your expertise. You're just maybe expanding it into a new space, maybe offering a new type of service that's aligned to it, or you're creating a different type of service offering. Maybe you're taking your business online. So instead of it being face-to-face and in-person type of business, you're going to change it up and offer something similar but online. So how can you take the equity that you've built up with you? And by equity, I mean quite a few things. You've got your clients, your past clients who have worked with you, who may, obviously, even if you're offering something in a different format, that's still relevant to them. Then you've got your brand and you've got your audience. So how much of that equity that you've built up can you bring with you into your pivot? Because the more that you bring with you that can remain relevant, that really gives you a strong base to start from with your pivot. So you're not starting from scratch. You're not starting from square one, ground zero. You're really starting from a foundation that you've already built. And yes, there will be people that probably drop off, people that it's no longer relevant for them. And that's fine. That's always going to happen with every pivot that you do, with every change, whether it's a brand update or a shift in a new direction. You've got to expect that you're not going to bring everybody along for the ride. However, you can bring people with you. There will be people who are more than happy to, past clients who want to engage with you in this new way. They want to buy from you again in the new format. They might want to buy the new services from you. There's all sorts of things that are going on that you can bring that link to. So what can you bring with you? What's relevant? How can you leverage that equity? With your brand, if your brand is really strong and you're well known and you've got a lot of recognition built up and awareness, how can you leverage that for this new pivot? And what can you bring with you so that, again, I guess not starting from scratch with it? There's so much that you can do in terms of that recognition, awareness, people's trust that you can bring with you if you're able to link your pivot with your brand. So it might be a little brand extension that you do as opposed to a whole new brand refresh. It might be a way where you can take the brand and adjust it slightly to create a new one, but there's enough of a link that people still have that recognition. There's a lot of different things that you can think about there. And importantly, your messaging and communications to your audience, to your customers around this shift, because rather than just saying, I'm shifting and I'm just going to start the new thing and start talking over here, why not think about your communication, how you can let those people know what you're doing and bring them with you, give them the story, give them the why. Let them understand what it is you're doing now and bring them on the journey with you. Because how powerful is that? Fantastic. You've got a ready-made audience all ready for your pivot. So if that is you, I hope this episode has been helpful. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into pivoting, but these were the 3 things that I think you think about before you put anything into action when you're making those plans, before you jump ship and just sort of start from a clean slate, because, hey, you don't have to be. And maybe pivoting actually isn't what you need right now if you are in the right space, if it's just some tweaks that you need to make to your offer, your messaging, or your niche to get the numbers happening where you want them. Now, I would love to hear your feedback. If you've enjoyed this episode, thank you for listening and being here. I really appreciate you. Drop me a review, give me your feedback, do the 5 stars on Apple below this episode. I would really appreciate it. And I will give you a call out in a future episode. If you leave me a review and pop your name in there, then I will read it out and give you a bit of a shout out in a future episode. So please do that. I would be very grateful to you as well. That's it from me. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and I'll talk to you again next week. Bye. Do you know what the number one challenge reported by the women joining my Facebook community, My Tribe, said that they were struggling with their marketing in 2021, and in fact, even in 2020 as well? And that was exactly how they should reach their ideal client. How do they even get in front of them in order to build their audience in the first place? That was it. And it wasn't a pick and mix. I didn't give them that answer. It was a free text question. So they could write in there anything they wanted at all. And the number of times that I saw somebody say, how to create awareness, how to get in front of my ideal client and build my audience. So many people just challenged by it. And why is that when there's such an abundance of ways that we can get in front of the ideal client? And I think it's probably that is exactly it. It's so overwhelming, isn't it? What should you do? What should you choose? What are the best ways? Whatever it is that you're doing right now might not be working. And I think it's a great time to sit back, reflect, and figure out what's the right way for you to do it. What are the ways that you're going to reach your prospective clients in 2022? So if that sounds like you, if that might have been what you wrote down in the questions on what is your biggest challenge with your marketing currently, then you're going to absolutely love the new freebie that I've just put together for you. It's called 12 Brilliant Ways to Reach Your Ideal Client. And in it, I share with you the 12, in my view, 12 top ways that you could use in your marketing plan this year to reach a bigger, broader audience in order to attract those ideal clients in to your inner circle, into your, really well-defined audience and become real leads for you. So if you'd like to get your hands on this brand new freebie, then all you need to do is go to jessicaosborne.com/12 ways. So it's 12 ways. Very easy. You can download it there, and this is a little bit of great resource for your planning, for the planning of the new year. See what you're going to change up. What is it that you maybe haven't been doing that you could be doing? And what are those things that you've been doing and they're not very effective, and maybe you're going to drop them out of your plan this year? So please head over, grab the freebie. If you want the link, it's in the show notes. And let's get you moving on up, having more success with your marketing in 2022.